good friend Creighton Hobbs, who's actually a director, and he wants to give you some tips and tricks with directing and making a great film. So, with further ado, let's go on ahead. Let's get on with the show.
Hi.
All
Can you
right.
hear me? Okay.
I can hear
Yay.
you. There was a little bit of a delay in the. I
Yeah.
don't. There's something going on within the production itself. A little small delay.
Uh,
But
yeah,
welcome to
that's
the
fine.
show, Creighton.
Oh, hey, I'm glad to be here. And yeah, and I know what that delay was. It was Santa Claus, the North Pole, the elves. They're doing their thing,
What?
I mean, hey.
Then, in that case, Creighton, why did you mess up my software? Because
My
you
bad.
are.
Yeah, I know. The ears, look, it's the ears. I was the
Mhm,
honorary elf, I mean.
exactly. So I just want to say this. Welcome to the show, as always. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's going to be great. I'm always excited to be on Movie Lovers Unite. Look, I
We're
use the
always
radio
happy to.
voice.
Exactly. It's always a pleasure to have you. And like you said, you want to go on ahead, give us some tips, some tricks on directing and things like that. So I'm excited
Well,
about this. So, what kind of advice would you say that you would actually give someone that's just getting into directing or filming and things like that? What kind of tips can you actually help them with?
well, the first advice, if somebody said, I want to make a movie, I would say, run. No, no, because I want to tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. This is a very tough and tedious thing that you're going to partake in, because there's so many. It's not like a nine to, it's like a 9 to 5 job, but it's not. It's layers, layer. There's a different little step in the process to making a movie. And really, my best advice for anybody that says, I want to make a movie, be determined. Never ever give up on your idea for a movie. Never ever, no matter how many people say no, 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 no. Don't let that deter you. Just, you got to keep focused, and you got to say, where there's a will, there is a way. And just get out there and shoot the field. That's never ever ever give up on your dream of making a movie.
Exactly, because I think this is actually a good point, though, too, for something that you can make a room in like a one-room scenario. You can make a movie in one-room
Mhm.
scenario where you don't have to have like a $200 budget if you're trying to do a $200 movie or
Yeah.
anything, or a $500 movie for that instance, for someone that's actually trying to get out there with, like, you know what I'm saying, like someone that's
Hmm.
trying to just do something locally. That
Yeah.
way, if you're in high school and you want to get into film school, you can think small and on that small scale, and you don't have to worry about trying to break your parents' pockets or anything. So
Right.
I think
Yeah.
smaller is good. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Like,
Keep
what do
it
you think
simple.
though?
Yeah. Keep it simple. Like, some of the things you can play around with lighting, honestly. Like, for example, like I have this lamp right here. See, just that right there, when you're making a movie, that changes it. But if I turn it back on, see, I'm more. It's simple. It's the simplicity of things. And, in today's time, in today's 2022, at the, December 2022, there's a reason why you can't do it with the access to iPhones, the access of all the tutorials on YouTube and TikTok and all the social media stuff, groups. There's just, honestly, there's really no reason why you can't make this happen. Yeah, I mean, honestly. And like, I've heard somebody say this before, and somebody asked James Cameron. They said, "What? How can I become a director?" And he said this, and I stand by this. Easy. Pick up a camera, shoot something, and then put director and your name under it. Ta-da! You're a director. It's that simple.
It's simple, but also too, another thing I want to bring up is you brought up the phones, you brought up the social medias and stuff. That's what I actually edit my stuff on, all my videos and stuff like that is on my cell phone. I hardly ever use any kind of software on my computer or anything like that because it's more feasible, it's more accessible because your cell phone's always with you. And now with the 4K cell phones and stuff like that, it's actually easy or to be able to make a film to where you can actually put it out there in 4K and then upload it into YouTube or TikTok and do certain things. And even if you're like, well, I can't do TikTok because they only allow me 30-second videos or 20-second videos, guess what? Edit that, break that into 30 seconds increments, and you can break them into parts. So therefore, short film within a 25 to 30 minute time. So therefore, you have a short film, and you can even probably send that off to the Holly Shorts Film Festival too.
Yeah.
That way.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Everything is accessible by phone. I mean, it's just really that simple. I mean, honestly. And, it's a matter of learning as well. Like when you shoot your first short film or movie or whatever the case may be, and this is a thing. If you're saying, okay, I'm going to make a movie, right? Yes, you're any director, anybody who owns a studio, you're never, ever, ever going to be happy with the final product. No matter what. It's just a thing in your head. You're never, ever going to be satisfied with it because you're like, oh, I wish I could have done this and that. But sometimes you just got to take your stuff and throw it out there and see what the world thinks,
Right, exactly. Sometimes you just have to go with your gut on what your gut instinct is. Sometimes we can be our own worst critics, though, too. It's like, especially if we're watching it and viewing our own stuff, and then once you send it in, it's like, oh, I could have done this, this, and this. Yeah. And next thing you know, you wind up winning a couple of awards, and you don't realize what you have until somebody winds up loving it. It's like, okay, maybe those things I can actually push back a little bit and just relax in the pocket because now I do have something special. I don't have to re-edit anything or redo anything because it's actually perfect on its own merit and I don't have to do anything. Now, my thing is this. Is there such thing as over-editing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is such a thing because, it's what I like to call you're getting lost in your own head with it. And you're forgetting and really the way you get out of not only that, but like with actors and other directors and stuff, this is the simple solution that I've found. Put yourself in the shoes of the audience, of that stranger that is surfing around on Amazon or Tubi. And it's like, if you as a stranger watching it, what would satisfy you? What would make you as the viewer say, "Oh, that was good," or it's like, "Oh, that was too much," or what?
Right. You can put too many frames into one shot when you don't need to have like 3 or 4 frames with different effects and stuff like that, when you can actually just make it simple.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I even see YouTubers do this themselves where basically smaller channels, they like, ooh, we got to use this effect. We got to use that effect. And even in vidIQ, they're like, no, don't over analyze it. It's simple. Mm-hmm. Just cut your fadeaways, do this, and stuff like that, and things will happen. Yeah. And that's the same thing whenever it comes down to, it comes down to the same thing whenever you look at just directing a regular film as well.
Yeah, I agree. And like when it comes to okay, so hold on, let me go to this real quick. So the audience, just in case like somebody's watching this and they don't understand some of the terms, the lingo, the movie lingo. So there's 3 things. There's the pre-production, then there's the film, and then there's post-production. Okay, pre-production is where everything is doing. You got to do that before the movie is released, and then you got to do filming the actual film with the actors and everybody else. Then post is where you're putting it out there and marketing, and how are you going to get people to watch your movie that you've made. And so I just wanted to kind of, for somebody who's watching this and it's like, what is pre-production? What is post-production? What are they
Right.
talking about? What's that guy talking about? So that's just a little reference for y'all.
Right. And I can totally understand that because, someone that doesn't know anything about the film industry or anything like that doesn't know about post production or anything like that either. And talking in that lingo, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And, and a matter of fact, I have to break it down to people too, where basically, I'm good at doing that because that's what I do. I mean, I talk about
Yeah.
movies and I know
Mhm.
about the inside baseball of making a film and things like that. Another thing I want to mention is this. The camera angles to me is the biggest thing when it comes down to filmmaking as well. Because you can have zero dialogue and still be able to tell a story with zero dialogue depending on how the camera is actually angled. And you said lighting is also a big factor too. So you can play
Yeah.
both of those at the same time because lighting can actually elevate the mood. Like for instance,
Yeah.
you use the dim light that can actually be for a down, depressed kind of feeling that the character is having. Then you use the
Yeah.
big light, and that's actually used to amplify the happiness of that character, and therefore you don't have to use anything in the script to use that. And the same thing with the camera angles
Yeah.
too. You can actually focus in on the facial structure, and
Yeah.
then to be honest with you, 99% of acting is basically facial expression itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It really is. And like um like and this is going for somebody that wants to make a movie as well. Take your time when you are filming a shot, like where, I don't know, say for example, say someone is upset, or they're having a very deep connection with, like, a mother to son thing. Concentrate your close-up shot, and whether even if it's shoulder or like straight here, get a close-up shot of, like, having the other actor say their lines, but having them react to it, whether it can be, because that one little expression may just sell it for that one moment of, like, and it just may tug on your heart, or it may just or like that, like they do it in like horror movies and stuff all the time, that,
Exactly.
who, green face.
Oh, Petrie has a
Oh,
question. What technique as a director you feel makes most effect in pre-production, during filming, and post-production?
so what was it before the oh,
What
okay.
technique as a director you
Oh,
feel makes most effect in pre-production, during filming, and post-production?
okay, so I would say the best technique is to plan ahead to your best ability. And I mean, like, in pre-production, location, location, location. Get it set up, or get it locked down, right? And get your schedule together. So that's like Now, also a technique is just like, you've got to plan, 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 plan in your head. That's why, like, you see people like me and Jason Pitts and stuff like that, and even Diego, like, after we're done shooting a movie, like, for about a month, we're just asleep, because for a whole year of our lives, we've planned how to shoot this movie, and we've planned what happens afterwards, how to get it out there to the public. So it's like, you know, we're exhausted, and so is everybody else. But, you know, uh, my best approach, and I would say for anybody through years of experience, plan ahead. And also, when you plan ahead, have a backup plan, have a plan B. I can't, and any director will tell you this. Ooh, you showed up at a location and they changed their mind, or something has happened and you can't be there. Well, you got all the actors there. You better have a plan B. You better have something to back you up to say, all right, we ain't going to do here, but we will go here. You know, we'll be an hour behind, but we'll get it, you know. So,
Right. Always plan ahead. Also, too, if you're trying to book a restaurant or somewhere in the public area, too, it's always good to lock down two locations for for a restaurant area, even though it may not look the same or whatever. You can always end up putting the table at the very back of the restaurant and making it
yeah,
feel like it's the same kind of feel that you had going into it. So, yeah, location scouting is actually probably the hardest thing to do whenever you're looking into filming, because you want to make sure that you're able to book the locations that you need to film. And like you
yeah,
said, there's certain things that come up that you can't help. So
yeah,
therefore, you actually have to make a plan B out of it. And then let's say, for instance, that plan A works out, you can always cancel plan B because you already had plan A already in the books.
yeah. And the same thing with post production as well. And I've seen a lot of filmmakers. This is where they make a boo boo. You know, they I've seen a lot where, you know, they make the movie and they think it magically is going to happen. Like, you know, those under those diamonds in the rough movies that just exploded type thing, like Blair Witch. Actually, it it did, but there was marketing behind it. There was a strategy to make it, you know. So that's another boo-boo that a lot of filmmakers don't, and beginning filmmakers, they don't think about it. They're just like, well, it's made. Let's throw it on Tubi and see what happens. Really, you know?
Right. No PR behind it. No
Yeah.
backup of supporting your own film. Also, too, hiding your film to where you're thinking it's going to do great whenever you have to be a great PR person in order, if you believe in it, put it out there, promote it, believing in
Yeah.
it with all your heart, even though it may not be great to in your mind, it could be great to somebody else.
Yeah.
And don't try to hide it from the general public or anything like that. And with
Mm-mm.
Blair Witch, it's a total different monster in itself because, like you
Yeah.
said, the marketing, but also to edit your trailer in the way that you need to market it. That was
Yeah.
the thing that worked for the Blair Witch Project, even though Blair Witch is not my cup of tea. But the
Right.
marketing, I cannot get this
Yeah.
though. The marketing
Yeah.
for it was fantastic. You had people that was going out into the woods with camcorders to go into the same locations and thought it was actually based on a true story. That's how you know you have something here, because of the fact with the editing and things like that. So edit
Mhm.
your trailer in the way that you think that
It's
it
going to
needs to be
be.
done. Keep
Mhm.
it simple.
Yeah. 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 And so, and I, you know, we going back to editing. So, all right. So this is a little tip and trick. All right. Now, and John, I know this is going to chap your ass, but
No, that's
but
okay.
it's okay.
I actually have some Descendant right here, and I also have,
Okay.
yeah, I'm good.
so so this is a little tip and trick. All right. So when you're shooting a film, you're going to have extra footage that you have no idea what to do with, right? You're just going to have gobs of it. You're like, I don't know what to do with this. I got it shot and put together. Okay. When you're making your trailer, believe it or not, you can put maybe 5 seconds of that extra footage that's not in the movie. Just don't do no more than 5 seconds or 6 seconds or something. Just to say, here's something that's in the trailer kind of thing. Not to lie to your audience, but just to create, oh, I want to go see this, you know, because of that one little clip. Now, with that extra footage that you got just sitting there, use that with social media. If you got it, use it. Tell people that's on your movie page or whatever. It's like, okay, look, on and 3 weeks from now, make sure that you tune in because we're going to show you a clip of this movie that was never in it and put the link to the movie. There you go. You got a nice little something to do with it. It's just a little marketing strategy to help a filmmaker or a new filmmaker out there. It's like, what do I do with this stuff?
Right, just sell it and trying to figure out a way to
Yeah.
sell it, and you have to sell it to the audience.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
definitely understand that. So my other thing is though too, you mentioned about resting after you're done editing and the process of editing and things like that. I know that it takes a humongous effort to do it, but mental health is also the big factor though too. And so you definitely need, even when you're filming, you still probably need a break in between to take a break. I know you though, and I know that you're overzealous.
Yeah.
But my question is this: for someone that's an independent director, someone that's trying to get into this, what's the best advice that you can give them as far as mental health goes, as far as trying to rest whenever it's time to rest?
If they're with a significant other, they need to have that significant other or their boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever put them in check, as in whether it's like if they're sitting there and they're editing for 4 hours, they need to come up and say, grab them by the ear if they got to, or grab them by the shirt and it's like, we coming down, you're going to eat dinner with me. And they're and they may be so excited to be like, no, I just got to finish this. Like, I know, but you can do it later. Come on, you got to step away from it. Have somebody, or even if you don't have that significant other, have a friend, tell a friend to say, yo, I need you to call me or text me or call me in about 4 or 5 hours and just talk to me about anything other than this movie. And little distractions like that. And then when you go back to editing, you're good to go. And
Exactly.
like honestly, and you've got to think of it like almost like a job. I mean, it is a job, but what I mean is like if you go, most people go to work 8 hours a day, right, or 9 hours, just 9 hours, or
About
just
8 hours, 8.5 hours, basically.
yeah. So 8 hours a day, 1 hour lunch, 2 15-minute breaks, and then the rest edit. And then if you got to set a timer, like an 8 hour timer, do it. Then that way you're not going to burn yourself out because it's going to show in the film. It really will.
I'll be honest with you. You can burn out quick if you don't pull yourself away. I'll get into Karen's question in 1 minute. But even for me, as someone does the audio podcasting side, it takes everybody's like, oh, just start up a podcast. You don't realize you have to have those levels leveled up to where people can hear you. And it takes me up to probably 2 weeks to maybe a couple of hours a day, to the point where I have to step away and take a break. And it's easy to burn out when you're editing. So yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from, right? With the editing process with that. And of course, if anybody else is wanting to edit, always take a time out for your mental health, because you don't want to burn out.
Yeah.
I'd rather fade away than to burn out. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And what did Karen have a question?
Yes. What is your favorite part about making movies?
Oh gosh, the to me, and I would say not all directors, but majority of them, it's seeing what's in here come to here. Like to the visual. It's like I've read this script, I've read the words, and now I'm seeing the words come to life. Like I'm actually creating this whole fictional or nonfiction thing. And that within itself is a miracle.
Definitely. Now, I do have a question about that too. Now, what's written in black and white on the pages sometimes does not always flow out the way that you want it to flow out. And do you ever make changes after you hear an actor spit those words out, or do you go on ahead and just pause for a minute and then steer them in the direction that you need them to steer it in, or do you let them allow them to change the script up if they need to change it?
Well,
That particular dialogue.
Like with me, okay, I've learned where, okay, I got a process when I'm filming, right? Let's say it by the script. Say your lines by the script. And if the actor is fumbling with the words or what, then I'll yell cut and I'll say, okay, you know the point, what you've got to get across. And they'll say, yes, sir. And I'm like, make it your own. I want you to make this, forget the script, just make this is the point of this scene. Boom. And then and usually what actors do is it's great. They'll take half of the screen. Well, I'm not half of what's on the scene, and they'll incorporate it into what they think that character should be. And usually it works. It's like I'll be like behind the camera, and I'm like, damn, that worked. Awesome. Why didn't I think about that earlier?
Right. Exactly. But yeah, I think that's actually probably the most challenging thing too, is to make sure that the words are actually flowing and it's actually believable. Because because the audience can tell if somebody's just phoning it in and waking up and saying a couple of lines. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Petrie asked, "Is there any other director or filmmaker you admire?"
Oh yeah. Director. Honestly, I've got really two and they are like, my directing style is very much similar to these two, James Cameron and Ron Howard. Those two.
Yeah.
Now, the reason with Ron Howard is the absolute most brilliant director with coming to the actor and doing characterization. I mean, he will, he don't care. He'll stop and he'll just be like, he'll come up and say, okay, now that you've done it, let's try it this way, or maybe let's try it, like he plays with the character, that's going to be. James Cameron, I love his style of cinema, how he shoots it. And I'm not talking about like whether it's Avatar or Titanic or something, but the overall vision, how he's able to get it from here to there. And I kind of like his style as well, where, he's a no nonsense guy, as in
Right.
like, I mean, he's told off Leonardo DiCaprio, I mean, it's like, he's like, look, pal, you can be replaced.
Right. Everybody's expendable. So I mean,
and it's like, so it's like, I like him because of he's got that vision here and he knows how to make it happen. And he's not so corporate by the book, where he's open to trying new stuff, And so those are my two directors.
So my other thing is this, before we wrap up too, is this. Now, I do have a question. Now, when somebody, let's say for instance that somebody's fumbling and you know that they're phoning it in and everything, how do you keep a balance of trying to keep them in check and knowing that this is not going to work out like you thought, Now, what happens if the person that you chose just not working out? How do you go
Yeah.
about changing out actors and then having to reshoot a scene with another actor? Because we've seen this a lot within
Mhm.
Hollywood and also indie projects, so too.
Yeah, I just went through that recently. Uh, so it's fresh. Okay. So if you've got somebody in the scene and they're just not doing it, your best bet for the sake of your movie is just to say, look, thank you for being here, but your services are no longer needed. And go to somebody or go and find that you know will make that scene great. Okay. And if that puts you a few weeks behind filming, in the long run of it, I would much rather be behind schedule, which I am now, 2 months, uh, and have something great and beautiful to watch versus throwing in somebody who's not doing justice to not only the movie, but to the actors and actresses and everybody else that's working on it, because you're really doing them an injustice.
Right.
So it's like everybody else that would be on the same page would be like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's get this done. Let's get it right. And I would
Exactly.
say that.
Because it's the same thing that happened with Back to the Future, for example, where basically you had another actor coming in there, and he was just like overacting to the point where he was taking it way too serious. And
Mhm.
Spielberg had to basically say, "Look, man, this is just not working out."
Yeah.
And they couldn't get Michael J. Fox at the time because he was actually filming the TV show that he was on.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, Michael was actually available by the movie gods, and then he winds up with Michael J. Fox, and it actually
Yeah.
works out. So, like
Hmm.
you said, you could be behind a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's all about
Yeah.
feeling the emotion of the character, and also too having the chemistry with all the actors and actresses that have been involved over the months. And this other guy's coming in, and you're hoping
Right.
that the chemistry works
Yeah.
with the actors and actresses, and hopefully he cares about or she cares about it just as much as the next person does.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're back to square one yet again, trying to find another actor.
Yeah. I mean, like when I first started up Binded by Tragedy, one of the co-star, Julian, he originally he got it, but something happened to in his personal life, and he had to back out of it. And I casted somebody else, but then Julian, became available again, and that was the best decision. And it put me behind, but when y'all see Julian act as this character Jimmy, you're gonna be like, oh, I hate him, but I love him. He's going to be one of
Right.
those guys of like, I ain't going to give spoilers away, but it's going to be one of those characters, that he plays. It's like, dang, that guy's good as an actor. So it's totally, I would rather be a little bit behind and get it right. And that's what I would
Exactly.
say to anybody who is starting off or wanting to create a movie. You know what? Be a little behind, but get that shot perfect, as well as perfect as you can get it.
Exactly. So, does anybody else have any other questions for Crichton? If not, we're gonna go ahead and close out for the rest of the night. I know this is a little shorter than normal, but I have another show that I'm going to be doing in a few minutes. But I want to make sure everybody has their questions and stuff like that they want to send in to Crichton right now, because this is
Yeah, because
about us giving you guys tips on helping you. And if we're not being able to help you, then we're doing a disservice to you for clicking
right,
on here. So I want everyone to be able to have their questions answered.
yeah,
And I just
and
want to, yeah.
oh, and while they're if somebody's typing out a question to you,
Yeah.
I don't know, but oh,
Yeah.
look, somebody came
Where
back.
do you draw your inspiration from your movies?
Oh gosh, ooh, probably just my writing. But I get inspired, believe it or not, when I watch a movie. Like I'll
Mm,
watch a movie and then get I'll kind of go off that coattail of it, but I'll make it something totally different, like for example, this movie. I love that movie, Black Mass, with Johnny Depp about Mighty Bulger, and I
yeah,
love Goodfellas. Those are my two, I love those mafia movies.
I do too.
And when I'm hoping that when people watch this, they're going to get a feel of where I got inspired from those two films. It's not going to be copycatted, but it's like it has that kind of thing to it,
Right, that little taste of a
Yeah,
mafia
right.
kind of lifestyle type of thing where you can
Yeah,
actually have, whereas like, forget about it. Have that kind
yeah.
of feel to it with the Italian stuff. You know what I'm talking about. But,
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to actually check this thing out because you've been working your butt off
Yeah.
for what, about 5 or 6 months now?
Oh God, 9 months. I know.
9 months? Yeah, I had a feeling it was a longer
Hmm.
than 6 months, but
Yeah,
I've been keeping tabs. I've been keeping track, watching
yeah.
everything
Oh
that you guys
yeah.
have been doing. But I know one thing: your crew is very talented. You
Oh,
have
thank you.
you have the best, loving, supportive people that I ever seen with any
Yeah.
set,
My
and that's all you.
gosh.
And that's the best thing that you can actually have when it comes down to uh, also giving tips and tricks, though. Too, is have a loving and gracious cast and crew to support you and to be able to be there for you whenever you do have that feeling of maybe being burnt out, or maybe you want to ask them for advice on things too. So that's also another thing that they can actually help you out on.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I know we're closing out the show, but I want to leave, if whoever's watching this, if you have a question, never feel intimidated to just ask it to the director or producer or whoever's around. You know, ask, because that's how you learn. And in this business, the movie making business, if you're not learning, honestly, you're dying.
Hmm.
That's just this honest truth. If you're never learning in this show business, you're just dying.
Right. If you're not growing, you're dying. And if you're not
Yeah,
evolving, you're dying. So yeah,
yeah,
most definitely. So,
yeah.
with that being said, guys, that's going to be it as far as this show goes. But I will be back with Rossi here at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Time with our review for episode 3 of Let the Right One In. It's a new Showtime show that's been airing on, well, I just said it on Showtime, but it's a vampire TV series. But I cannot wait to be able to talk to her about this show. This is actually her show called Rossi Talks About Everything in Between. So that's her little review show that she's doing. Thank you again, Creighton. It's always a pleasure. Thank you
Ah,
to
thank
every.
you.
You're very welcome anytime. And of course, you're always welcome on the show and things like that too. And I just want to thank Petrie, Karen, and everybody else that was in the live chat. Just doing a fantastic job of supporting Creighton and also too just being awesome people, just asking questions. So I do appreciate
Mhm.
that from you. So always until next time, guys. Bye bye.
Bye.